Hey, how's it going? Ryan here, PACE TRIATHLON.com, and we're doing a nice little video where we're going to be talking about how do you ride outdoors with bike power. So if you're like me, I started off with my smart trainer in the basement, and I did my structural workouts with power down there, but when I got outside, I did not have a power meter whatsoever. So it was a little difficult because I kind of had to go off perceived effort and heart rate where I was training in the basement with power. So fast forward, now I have pedals. I have Vector 3 on my tri-bike, so when I go outdoors, I do get power information, and I can go buy power to do my workouts outdoors. Or I can at least see that data retroactively after I do a workout to see if I kind of hit the targets and the metrics going off perceived effort, and then seeing if I met my power goals as well, just to see if my perceived effort met my actual power. But I've had a lot of athletes, they go from not having power to power outdoors, and it's a little bit of a learning curve. Because when you're doing it on the trainer and you're doing the ERG mode, it's just telling you where to be, and it's forcing that bike and forcing that resistance to be where you need to be at. But when you get outdoors, it's all up to you. How hard you pedal, how fast you pedal, and all that kind of good stuff. So you got wind, you got heat, you got cold, you got cars, you got stopping, you got hills and terrain, all these different things that are kind of get in the way of getting that precise workout in that you're looking for with your power. So here's a few tips on how to go outside and do your biking with power. So number one, aim for long stretches of road with minimum changes of terrain starting out. So here in Kansas, we do have hills. It's not flat as a pancake. When we're closer to Kansas City, you get out west, and yeah, it's kind of flat. But when you go out riding, there are lots of opportunities here that I know the terrain well, and there's a fair amount of long stretches of road that are not severe inclines, so where if I wanted to, I could probably set up my power intervals and know that I can ride for this long and have this much road that I can do my workout in, and maybe have to do a U-turn or something like that, and I can keep going on that flatter stretch of road to get my workout in. So make sure if you're going to do a structured workout and you want to take hills out of it, especially around here in Kansas City, there's downtown airport that has a nice 3.5 mile loop that's basically flat. There's one little bitty hill. So that's a great opportunity as well to go out and do power intervals or a very structured workout. So get flat terrain if you want to take all the variables out as far as terrain goes. Start workout when on that more ideal road. So if say you have to bike for a little bit, 10, 15 minutes or something like that, to get that road, I would just call that your warm up, start on your device or whatever. Or maybe, if you're doing a workout from your device, maybe you just record as a separate warm-up, stop it, save that file, and then restart it, and then start your workout from there once you get to that more ideal road situation. So that way you're not going through and you're not losing the information, because the warm-up's, nice to have, but at the same time, you're not muddying up your workout and throwing off your intervals by recording that a little bit extra to get to your good terrain. Next point, race day overall, you want the average normalized power to be 75% of FTP. So why do I go with normalized power? Because it takes out all the spikes and all the drops. You're going downhill, sometimes you'll save your energy and you won't pedal. So you just kind of free fall to the bottom of the hill or whatever, and you won't have any power, you have zero. So if you average in the spikes, say you hit the bottom of the hill and you're matching the pedals and you get 500 watts for like 2 or 3 seconds, that doesn't come in and throw your average off. It's not all waving and stuff. So it kind of cuts down gets down to the average. So your spikes and your lows kind of wiped off. So it takes into account the kind of terrain and kind of smooths everything out. So 75% is especially when you get to 70.3 in the Ironman distance, that 75% of FTP is a good spot to kind of aim for. So you're not going all out, but you're not just sitting there doing as easy as possible. So having that normalized power as your target, that will help you when you do your workouts outside with power. So for tracking live workouts or racing, use normalized power data field. So as I hinted to, using normalized power, you can actually set up your Garmin device. I use this for my rides, but if you're using an Edge device or something like that, you can set up a data field that is your average normalized power. So as you're riding along, you can see where that is going. If you're saying, well, I'm a little bit high because I've got a lot of hills, so maybe I need to back off the cycling to get that average power down, because you got hills, you got downhills, you got wind, you got other things. That is going to affect how much power you're putting out. It's going to affect your speed and all that kind of good stuff. So if you have a way to monitor that during your ride as a data field. That'll help you out. So set up your guardian device to see your average normalized power over time. Next point, takes into account outdoor variability. So again, that normalized power takes that variability, heat, wind, cold, hills, anything. It takes that because your power is your power. So you're doing that regardless of what you're doing, and your terrain is all dictating, it's affecting that power, but it is a true number, and that normalized power, like I said, takes out all of that kind of the spikes and the lows and everything. That's just kind of data that will really kind of throw things off for you. Normalized power removes spikes and dropouts. I already talked about that. And so as you're seeing this video, you'll see in the background, I'll have the points here that I'm going over. Move to varied terrain after practice. So let's say you've gone out, you found your flat stretch of road, and you've done a few bike rides. You're getting kind of a good feel of, okay, you know, here's where I could put in more power, put in less power, shifting. Being smoother on the shifting kind of helps with the normalized power. So after that, you know, it's time to open up a little bit, because when you get to a race, they're not going to give you a nice flat terrain unless you're doing a race like I'm in Florida, but it is a little bit, you know, they've changed the course over a few times, and there's a few hills, and there's a few long grinds. So you need to be able to do that, and over time, you should get a good feel for how to control that power on your bike and be consistent with it. So then it's time to move into the hillier areas, or maybe go out on a windy day where you're a little bit less inclined to go out. There's your opportunities to get out there and really practice it when you're out there training. So on race day, you're not out there trying to figure it out for the first time. Next point, structured power rides will be challenging in outdoor terrain. So as I alluded to, that's why you want to pick the kind of the flattest course possible. Probably want to avoid if there's, you know, if you're riding into a headwind, that's really going to help you. If you're riding with a tailwind, that's really not going to help you either. So just make sure that you're riding the right terrain if you're doing a structured workout. So if you're not doing a structured workout and you're trying to just hit your 75% normalized power for a long ride or something like that, hey, go wherever you need to. But if you're trying to do a very specific structured workout outdoors, that's when you really need to find that controlled terrain and controlled variables as much as possible. So you can, all that is affecting your power is the effort you're putting into pedaling, and less overcoming the wind and less climbing up a hill. So the last point is anticipate hills, wind, etc. when switching gears, one smooth shift up or down. So this goes into the practice. Over time, let's say you've gone out, you've done some structured workouts, you've done some regular workouts on flatter terrain, you've kind of gotten a good feel for, you know, going up a hill, what you need to do. So then when you hit your regular terrain, that's a time when, you know, you're working on your smoother shifting. You're working on when you're starting to climb up the bottom of the hill. You don't want to wait till you have to grind your gears and then start downshifting and grinding gears and all that kind of good stuff. How to kind of go into the bottom of the hill, how to shift your gears smoothly, and to keep a nice cadence and keep a good smooth power. Get up that hill, crest it, and then go back down the other side like an Ironman Chattanooga. You know, half of it's getting up that hill without coming to either a screeching halt because you didn't shift your gears right, or trying to mash the gears too hard and just wearing yourself out too quickly. With a nice smooth roll up the hill, and then go over, crest, and then down to the next hill. So in shifting that whole time and pedaling that whole time and making sure you're not exceeding your power goals, or you're not coming in under. You don't want to get off the bike and be like, you know, I had so much more I could have given out there. You can spend it on the run, but at the end of the day, if you come to the finish line, you're like, wow, I had a lot left on my legs. You know, I could have probably given a little more on the bike. So keep that target power in mind. So hopefully this helps you out. This is just a few little tips over time that I've experienced and I've worked with my athletes, how to get out there and start riding a bike with power. It's akin to, I guess, riding a bike without training wheels. You take that training wheels off and you're like, whoa, this is totally different. A lot of people have that issue when they're going from smart trainer rides indoors and then they hit outside and they get kind of frustrated with the power because they can't necessarily control where it's going because it's going everywhere. And so these tips will hopefully help you out to get out there. It's going to be a little bit crazy at first, but just give it a little bit of time and, you know, it'll come back and it'll start feeling a little bit more under control, that you'll have what you need, the tools, the knowledge to be able to ride something and then have less variability in your power output and kind of hit your targets. So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this helps you out. If you're seeing this on Facebook, give it a like. If you're seeing it on YouTube, give me a subscribe. Give this a thumbs up. And subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook. Do whatever you need to. Put comments in if you got questions. Always like those. Always like to get questions. If I didn't make anything too clear, go back and clarify it for later. And that basically sums it up. So good luck in training out there. We'll see you at the finish line.